Can you still hear?
Welcome, everyone. This is a Mastery Empowerment class, and we invite you to some beautiful, beautiful information that will help you assimilate your way in this current time. I'm Loren Gailey, and I want to share with you some plant music. It is a blooming cyclamen, and it is unconditional love, and yet it is a very sturdy root. And so this is the sturdiness, the fortitude of love. Take a moment and we'll start briefly. Thank you. All right, beautiful. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. We have been listening to plant music, and I want to share with everyone that the plant music is a frequency that is multidimensional, and it literally assists us in clearing out some fear. It's been very helpful in the last few days. I want to welcome our guest today, Matthew John. He is a spiritual teacher and a medical intuitive, an intuitive healer. And I want to share with you first. I'm going to steal your punchline, Matthew, and I'm going to share that this is a great time in our history. And so I encourage everyone to stay in the focus of New Earth and love, because what we're going to hear today, it can kind of take us to a place that really makes us look at everything. There's a beauty in that, but it could also bring up some fear. So I want to share with you my personal story with Matthew, and how, like, even just our conversation helped us break through some of my fear as well. But first, let's welcome Matthew John. Hello, Matthew.
Hi, Lauren. So nice to be here. Thank you.
Yes, and I welcome everyone who's here as well and joining us. Mastery empowerment courses are different than what most people may know us from, and that's quantum conversations, where we truly are having a conversation of curiosity and how to live in quantum ways. This is more of a teaching with you today, and it's beautiful. At the end, we're going to tell people how they can get a personal session with you,
Mhm.
but we want to be here right now in this moment with some beautiful wisdom. So I stole your punchline.
Mhm.
And the wisdom that we're going to uphold is that as we be love in all ways, this is like one of the final exams. When we be love in all ways and raise our vibration, we do create new earth. So the the things that you're going to share, it could get a little scary for people. Like, I got scared, and I shared that a little bit, where I
Sure.
actually saw a timeline thousands of years down the way. I got really depressed, but the
Mhm.
good news is you and I chatted. I think I texted you,
Sure.
and
Yeah.
we cleared it out. I cleared it out like in an
Good.
instant.
Good.
And that's what we're all here to do. So I encourage everyone to remember this if any fear triggers come up today. And Matthew, you've got a beautiful course, and you're not too upset that I shared the punchline.
I'm full of punchlines. I've got one prepared. So the first thing I think we should all do together is just take the fear out of the word pandemic. So I'm just going to say it a bunch of times. It's really not that scary of a word. Pandemic, pandemic, pandemic. It's a pandemic. It's a pandemic. Yes. I'm so excited. Pandemic. And if you break the word apart, pan is something you use to make pancakes. Pancakes are good. Dem, I don't know. Democracy's nice. Whatever we have left. And ick. Well, ick is something bad that fish can get if they get sick. But what else is good with ick? How about Mick, as in Mickey Mantle, number 7, one of the greatest baseball players of all time. I just stole that, by the way, for you Seinfeld fans, from George Costanza's famous encounter with a woman in Central Park, where he stops and says, he almost steps in manure. And he's like, well, if you break it down, it's really not that bad of a word. You got ma, which is good. We all like our mothers, and newer. Newer is always good. Ma, newer. And of course, that's why the woman never wanted to see him again. So I hope at least one person got a laugh out of that. If not, that's why I'm no longer a stand-up comic. So let's get into this today. So the title of this is Understanding the Pandemic on Different Levels. So really, just like most of my talks, not all of them, but most of them are really about understanding, about wisdom. So this is really an hour of wisdom, and I'd love for people to share their comments throughout. And Lauren, I can't see any of the comments, so you can moderate with that. Interrupt me if anyone has a relevant question. I want to talk a lot about what's going on a 3D level. As far as what I've learned, and I've been digging, first of all, I've been on this path of figuring out what's going on the planet, as so many of you watching have for 11, 12, 15 years. And I'm sure a lot of you, watching have been on the path of knowledge for a lot longer than me. So I'm going to share a lot of knowledge. It's going to be all my interpretations of what's going on. However, I'm going to be citing a lot of evidence. So all of this is very evidence-based. And then we're going to go into, well, okay, if this is really what's going on in the world, what can we do about it, right? And what are the main lessons from this particular point in the timeline with this pandemic, right? This fun pandemic. So, and then we're going to talk about some practical ways to protect yourself from this pandemic. Also, we're going to talk about basically some silver linings that are coming along as kind of side effects of this. And also we're going to do, hopefully if we have time, I would love to do a group meditation for everyone to help clear this out of ourselves, clear the fear out, and clear this out of the collective. And I know that you're doing on the 4th, right, April 4th, you're joining in with the worldwide meditations, and I'm glad you are, because I'm gonna do it at the time you said, 10:45. I wasn't even sure what I was gonna do with my my email list or whatever, but that's perfect. I'll just have everyone from my camp join in 10:45 p.m. Eastern, right, 7:45 p.m. Pacific on the 4th, because what's going on is we have a very important conjunction between Jupiter and Pluto. Jupiter amplifies whatever is going on. So Pluto is the planet that breaks down structures, especially being in Capricorn, because Capricorn is all about the 3D. It's all about the what's really going on as far as the economic and the political structure of the planet. And that started in 2008 with the first recession. And now we're seeing the second recession, which is going to be bigger than 2008, most likely. And we'll talk about this. And this Pluto and Capricorn ends in 2024. So we have that Pluto-Jupiter conjunction happening several times this year. A conjunction means the planets come very close to each other in the sky, as it looks like from our perspective on Earth, right? Because astronomy relates to astrology. So Jupiter being the amplifier, Jupiter is also the planet of good fortune. So it represents a really important kind of input point in the timeline, where as the light workers, we can all band together. And our biggest power, and I'm going to reiterate this a lot, our biggest power right now is meditation. That's our number one weapon against everything that's going on, is meditation and visualization. It can seem like it doesn't do much, but we have to remember that we are living in a holographic reality. This is not as solid as it seems. And we do have that power. When Hurricane Michael was coming to the US, there were a group of people that did some meditations, and it significantly, the impacts that were forecasted by the media were much bigger than what actually happened. The same happened with Hurricane Irene. And we can see in both those instances the power of mass meditations. They really, really work. So that's where our power lies in all of this. Okay. And I'm going to talk more about that. But let's talk a little bit about what's going on the planet. First of all, I think what's really most important for people to understand, where does this virus come from? All signs point to it being created in a laboratory, which I feel probably most people out there watching this already are either aware of or have some sort of feeling about. I was listening to a good source of this information. There's an interview on YouTube from Stefan Molyneux. I think that's how you say it. He must be French Canadian or something. No, he's Australian. That's right. I don't know, but he's French Australian. So Stefan Molyneux, and it was Dr. Paul Cottrell, who's a researcher in several different fields, PhD from Harvard, and he had looked at the genetic sequencing of this particular virus when in the NIH National Institute of Health databases, and he had described very clearly how it looks like it's something that has been being developed since 2010, and it seems to be a combination of SARS, which was also developed in a lab, most likely, bat SARS, which is another kind of version of SARS that they were testing with bats or that was developed in bats, and then also components of HIV. And the components of HIV were meant to make this particular virus be very mutable, and be able to perhaps spread very well, and perhaps come in more than one wave. Okay. No, so that's a very good interview to watch. It's very scientific, so and very medical oriented. If you're into that, which I'm into all that stuff, please watch that interview. Stefan Molyneux, Dr. Paul Cottrell. It's the one where he says prepare for 18 months. Now that when I first watched that, I was like, holy crap! And I've already been preparing myself and my family for weeks. I've got a month's worth of food. I've got all the supplements I could ever need. I got colloidal silver, I got masks, I got everything. I've been taking this very seriously from the beginning. That was my initial, especially after watching that, my initial reaction to this was preparation, right? Now, my perspectives have slightly shifted since then. And I'm glad we had this today and not last week, because I think I would have had a little different message last week. And I feel that although this was perhaps intended to do a lot of damage, as in it's going to do the economic damage most likely, but it was really intended to cause a lot of death on the planet, I believe. However, in practice, just because something is intended to do something, I don't know if it will actually pan out like that, because if we look at the statistics, China has had very, very little new cases lately. Their deaths are at 3,304 in a country of 1 billion people. It's almost nothing. And God bless those souls who have left the planet. But with all due respect, those souls might have left the planet from some other minor illness like influenza, right? I mean, somewhere between 300,000, around 300,000 people die in the US each year due to influenza. Depends on the severity of the flu season. In the US so far, 2,817 deaths. In the world, 2,799 deaths out of 764,866 confirmed cases. And I use air quotes because, and this information you can find explained very well on David Icke's channel, who will cite the doctor that he got this information from, an American doctor. And it was from his last, a video from a couple days ago called Fiddling with the Numbers. And he says that in reality, there is no test for COVID-19. There is no test. What they're doing is they're having this swab test that tests for some aspect of any coronavirus in someone's body. Coronavirus is a family of viruses, including influenza. There's a million different types of coronaviruses. So if anyone has a cough or a fever or something, they go and get a test. It's a good chance that they're going to get tested positive, regardless of if they have COVID-19 or just a cold or flu bug, like is happening all the time. Now, the fact that the cases in China have really tailored off, and it only started in November, and we're in March, and in December, if you remember, around Christmas was when it was like, oh crap, this is really getting serious in China, right? Since about, let's see, maybe mid-February, they they believe in China, they've reached the peak and it's started to come down. And we're seeing very little case. And not only that, they're starting to reopen aspects of the economy, reopening factories, allowing more movement in China, right? Now, that tells me that perhaps, regardless of how much biological damage this was perhaps intended to do by those who created and released it, it might not be happening in practice. And what really might be happening is, see, they win regardless. They win regardless, because whether it wipes out a good portion of the population, that's great. Population depopulation has been a big agenda from the elite for a long time. Bill Gates has talked about it for years. Too many people on the planet, right? So if that happens, great. If it doesn't, they still win, because look at what's happening. The entire world is on lockdown and no one is fighting back. No one is revolting. The sheeple, the proletariat, they're saying, okay, yes, sir, I will stay at home. I'll do whatever you say. And listen, with all due respect, I'm not saying that's the wrong thing. It may very well be the right thing, but there's been little pushback, which means that the elites are getting what they want anyways. So I don't think it really matters how much damage this does to them. To us, it matters because we want to live through this, right? Some other information about the disease. This comes from Christoph Melchizedek, who I respect very much. I think he's been on your show, right? He says that energetically, what he's seeing with this virus is it causes a big black cloud over the lung area and over the heart area, right? And it may be associated with grief as well. Okay, and that's, now he just sent out, for those of you who are on his email list, if you're not, get on his email list. I'll also send out the links to people who are on my email list in tomorrow. But he has two energetic frequencies. One is to kill the virus biologically. One is to solve the energy issue. So if anyone has it, or you think you might have it, or you know someone who has it, then play these audios because it'll really help. Excuse me. So biologically, it seems like it's probably more dangerous than the flu. It's probably kind of like SARS, which was really dangerous. But the thing is how is it actually going to spread and infect 2/3 of the world? I don't know. I'm actually thinking no at this point. I don't think this will end up being as widespread as maybe it could have been. I don't perhaps think this will be like the Spanish flu, which killed 50 to 100 million people. They don't even know. And that was back when the planet only had about, I think it was 1 billion people on the entire planet. Now we have almost 8 billion, right? So it's definitely not going to be that many, people. I mean, that was perhaps 10% of the planet got wiped off by one sickness. This is not going to happen with this. I'm pretty sure. Could be wrong. I'm pretty sure. Now, obviously, what the media is saying is true. Is if you are old, especially 80 or over, or you have underlying issues, especially immune issues, you should be more careful. You really should be more careful. And I'll talk about later some things we can do, things you can buy on Amazon or at the supermarket that will protect you. Okay. Now let's talk about 5G. A lot of people out there already have either an understanding or an inclination that this has something to do with 5G. Of course, it has something to do with 5G. You know how we know it has something to do with 5G? Well, what did they slip into the $2 trillion stimulus bill the other day? Something called the Broadband Deployment Accuracy and Technological Availability Act. And then there's another act that, unfortunately, when I print it out, it's covered up by a pop-up. But there are these two. Basically, it's fast tracking the deployment of 5G. So at the same time where everyone's supposed to stay home, they're fast tracking 5G. And there have been a lot of reports around the internet of people seeing them putting this up at schools, right? And I know there were only a couple videos on this that seem to show it, but if they're doing it at some random school in Wisconsin, they're probably doing it at some random school in New York or California. So, you guys like my dachshund mug? I have a dachshund. So now the thing about 5G is numerous studies have shown it to be harmful. Uh, Skin problems, heart problems, causing heart palpitations and arrhythmias. Immune problems. Wow, what a coincidence. Immune problems, right? Okay, these are all from PubMed uh, medical studies. All right. And not only that, 60 hertz. So 5G frequencies are legally allowed. Well, the upper limit, I believe, is like 100 hertz. It's in the upper limit that was set by the FCC, excuse me, which has no business talking about anything health related. They're a communications organization that was supposed to be in charge of whatever that Satanist that her nipple slipped out at the Super Bowl, right? That's what they're supposed to be in charge of, regulating radio and TV communication. Somehow, and this was done under the Clinton administration, the Clinton administration gave the power to regulate frequencies completely to the FCC and out of the hands of any health organization in the government. And so the FCC, which has no one on their panels that is a scientist or a doctor, anything like that, they're the ones who are in charges, and they've set the upper limit for the frequency that they're allowed to use these broadband frequencies at an insane limit that would kill someone if you stood next to it for a little while. And so the frequencies that these new 5G transmitters are operating at is 60 gigahertz, which also happens to inhibit oxygen from being absorbed into the body. And you can see why a disease that has a lot to do with the lungs, right? And was created, SARS, to attack the lungs. SARS means severe acute respiratory syndrome, right? And you can see how that could perhaps work in concert with these technologies that are affecting the oxygen absorption of the body. I'm also going to talk a little later about how we can protect ourselves from 5G. 5G is now active in most cities in the United States, including the city I'm in. The small cell 5Gs are the most dangerous. They're not active in all the cities. And what a coincidence that the 5G was launched in Wuhan in October and this virus was released in November, right? What a coincidence that 5G came online in New York last year, and now New York is the center of the epidemic in the United States, right? There are no coincidences with this stuff, okay? This is all verifiable. So we have 5G, okay? We had the Bill Gates creepy Event 201 conference in October that played out a simulation of a pandemic 6 weeks before it actually happened. And they projected like 65 million deaths. That may have been what they were hoping for. Again, I don't know if that will happen. My intuition says it will not, actually, that this is not going to be as effective as maybe they wanted it to be. However, again, in the world of this, there are no coincidences. Now, there's a lot of weird stuff going on behind the scenes economically as well. Just the other day, it was announced that basically they have merged the Federal Reserve with the US Treasury. Let's see if I can find this. And a lot, I'm going to share this one too in a minute. And a lot of people, especially people who are really paying attention to the QAnon stuff, which I don't personally really buy into, are saying, oh my God, wow, they dissolved the Fed. The Fed is over. We're free. We're free. We're free. Well, if you really read what's going on, not really. Basically, what they're trying to do is Trump and the White House is trying to save the economy. So there's the people who are trying to crash the economy are not the ones in the White House. The governments that are in place around the world now, Trump, Boris Johnson, Putin, they don't have as much power in the worldwide affairs as we sometimes give them credit for. It's the forces behind the scenes, the puppeteers, that really have the power, right? They're obviously trying to crash the entire economy and put us into a depression, into a worldwide depression. Why? Because here's what they want. They want to create a centralized world currency that is controlled by AI. Everything is trackable. No more paper money, no more coins, Everything is just digital currency. And the reason for that is clear and obvious. It's control of the population. Because right now, there's a lot of stuff going on around the world, most of it illegal activity that isn't on any books. And that could be possibly a positive side effect of that is perhaps, but I doubt it. I somehow doubt it because a lot of the illegal activity going around the world is somehow related to these puppeteers at the top, ultimately. But they want to create this system where, if you remember the movie Minority Report, right? That's what they want to create, where you walk into a store, they biometrically scan your face or your eye, right? They advertise exactly to you, which wake up people. What has been happening over the past 5 years on Google? Everything you say, 2 seconds later, you see an ad for it. They're listening to every word you say on your phone and on your computer, and then you get advertising for it. It's exactly like Minority Report. And you walk in the store, they'll show exactly the advertisements tailored for you. How do you pay? You scan your microchip, right? That's how you pay. And it hooks into your currency, right? Now, here's the thing. You only get to keep your currency if you're a good boy or a good girl. This is where it goes to the social credit system, right? This is what's been going on in China already. And whatever they're doing in China, you can be sure they want to do in the rest of the world. It's just that China has a history of communism, and it's easy to do there. Okay, so the social credit system is a national reputation system, right? Initiated trials in 2019 before launching a national pilot with 8 credit scoring firms in 2014. In 2018, these were centralized under the People's Bank of China. And in 2020, it is intended to standardize the assessment of citizens and business, economic, and social reputation. If that isn't creepy, what does that even mean? Well, what it means is if you're someone who's going along with what the party is saying, then you get your credits. You get access to you get privileges, basically. It's exactly like in the book 1984. Okay, if you don't get squat and you can starve. All right. So why they would like to crash the entire world economy is to create a system where people are reliant on the government for sustenance, and they'll give a basic wage and income to everyone around the world, right? And you only get access to it if you are following what the party says. If you say something online, or if you say something on, even to another person with your smartphone right there, or whatever else is listening, the cameras, the drones, right? The satellites, the 5G satellites, everyone, Big Brother watching, right? Well, what happens is then you don't get access to using the train, and this is happening already right now in China. Something like 28.82, as of June 2019, 26.82 million air tickets, as well as 5.96 million high-speed rail tickets, have been denied to people who were deemed untrustworthy by the Chinese government. And 4.37 million untrustworthy people have chosen to fulfill their duties required by law. So there may be some sort of rehabilitation program where, okay, if you do this, perhaps you go to these classes about how Big Brother is wonderful and it loves you, then, and you don't say anything against Big Brother, well, then you can get back on and use the train and fly and eat, right? In general, it takes 2 to 5 years to be removed from the blacklist. 2 to 5 years in China. And there's no explanation of what these people are getting blacklisted for. In the Chinese cities, they already have facial recognition cameras everywhere. And AI tracks what every citizen is doing. And one of the creepy aspects about this whole COVID-19 outbreak is, and this was something that was already talked about in Bill Gates's pandemic 201 thing, was that the countries that had the most developed AI would be praised for mitigating the spread of the disease, and Western countries would soon follow. And it's exactly what is happening. China is being praised, and South Korea, for controlling the spread through AI, because they have these apps which tell people to input exactly where they've been. exactly every single person that they've spoken to and been in contact with to quote unquote contact trace. Whether it works or not, what is happening on a bigger scale here is that the rhetoric is already unfolding, and it's going to continue to unfold this summer to the west. Well, this is how you do it. Integrate more AI. Hey, America, here's these apps. It's already happening. There's already these apps where you can contact trace yourself, where you can self-report. It's live. They're live right now. You self-report how you're feeling, your body temperature, right? And it shows up on a map. That's happening in our country right now. There's also apps that local police departments are putting out around the country where neighbors can report their neighbors for going out or defying any sort of shelter in place order. This isn't just happening in other countries, it's happening in our country too. In South Africa, but it's maybe worse in other countries though. South Africa, for example, I read that just last week, 47 people were jailed for quote unquote spreading fake news online about the coronavirus not being that serious. And we happen to have a history of some sort of democracy in this country, which makes it likely that some of this stuff will be delayed in its implementation in our country. However, if it's happening in other countries, we're probably not that far off, and we need to be aware of all this. Another aspect to this is that, of course, what is another end goal of this besides just more control, restriction of your ability to travel, more checkpoints, things like that? It's mandatory vaccines. And a lot of people know that. A lot of people on this broadcast, of course, realize that this is one of the end goals of this. They want to squash the whole anti-vax movement once and for all. And you could see they were already doing this. Was it last summer, the measles outbreak in New York? Okay, if you remember, there was neighborhoods in New York where Cuomo put an edict in, an Orwellian edict, that you had to get mandatory vaccinations to control a measles aspect. What are the chances that may have been some sort of test, right, for something bigger? Well, I would say it's a good chance. You know, there were neighborhoods of Hasidic Jews in Brooklyn who were resisting this, right? And they gave out. They didn't like force, into someone's home and inject them, but who's to say that's not far off? What it was then was $1,000 fine. $1,000 fine. So if it happened now and that was what it was, I'm sure a lot of us would say, okay, I'll pay $1,000 fine rather than injecting me with formaldehyde and aluminum and mercury, aborted fetal cells, aborted bovine fetal cells, and who knows what else. Because now this is the only thing I'm going to share in this entire webinar that is not citable. Okay, everything else is evidence-based and citable. There are rumors going around the internet that the COVID-19 vaccine, which of course everyone's talking about, oh my God, come save us, we need this vaccine now. Let's rush it, fuck the clinical trials, let's just rush it out on the streets. That's the rhetoric right now. Well, there are rumors going around the internet that perhaps there may be an RFID microchip in this. Now, that is not confirmed. I have no intel. I'm just going off of rumors on the internet. There's no evidence of that yet. But who knows, right? Something to pay attention to, because now something that kind of points to something like that is a website, a very creepy website called ID2020.org. And if you type that in, it's run by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. And it says right on there that 1.3 billion people in the world have no digital identification. What I believe that means is 1.3 billion people in the world are not carrying around smartphones. I could be wrong. That could mean something else, but I don't know what else they could mean by that, because that's just what seems logical to me. But it's a very kind of beating around the bush, politically worded website. But the intention is really likely to microchip everyone in the world sometime this decade, right? So that's what they want to do. More control, more tracking, and who knows what else. If you watch some things about 5G, there are some really creepy military capabilities that 5G was developed from and could possibly be used if they needed to. And they've already used stuff like this. For example, crowd control. they've already used these 5G technologies to disperse crowds, right? That are rioting or are protesting because it makes people feel like they're on fire because the frequency is so high, right? It's 60 gigahertz frequency or more being shot right at them, right? Direct energy weapons in California, for those of you who live in California. Okay.
All right.
Um,
You know, vibrationally, I feel this, and I know our audience, it's like, I know we need to know this. And then there's some who say, by speaking of it, do we even anchor it more?
no,
So
no,
I'm just, and then we know, I mean, this is all, and so you're talking to a bunch of light workers who are here ready to be like inspired into new earth.
oh,
So
we're gonna get
I think
inspired.
we get there. So I'm going to just urge you along the way, my friend, because I mean, we do get that. And that's why I kind of gave the punchline away at the beginning. And this
Okay,
is bringing up fear in my own world too.
but
So
that's
it's
good.
very
I'm gonna tell
interesting.
you why that's good,
Good.
because it gives us a chance to move through it. Once we're aware of this, there's nothing to be afraid of. There's nothing to be afraid of once we're aware of this.
That's
But we
good.
have to
Good
know
to
what we're
know.
up against.
Yes. Okay. We
We have
got
to
you.
know what we're up against.
Okay. So, and then, we do talk to the spiritual teachers and this truth or this awareness that people are exposed to actually is a cause to wake people up. And so we kind of move through a little anger. So bear with me, everyone, and please forgive me too, as I'm just sitting here and feeling like this coming up in my solar plexus, like I
Feel
want
it.
to puke. I want to like,
Yeah, feel it. Feel it. This
and
is
then it's like,
healthy. This is healthy. Feel it. We're just
so it
become
just seems like this is game on in a
it's
huge
game
way
on.
for our personal
2020
responsibility.
2020 to 2030 is game on. We're seeing this happen on the planet, right? I want to just wake everyone up to what the plan is, what they want to do, okay? And then once we have that knowledge and understanding, then the question is, well, what do we do about it, right? So, fine, I'll cut short with some of the other stuff that I wanted to reveal.
No, it's okay. You can reveal it. You can
No, no,
reveal
no.
it. I just wanted to
Okay, I
interject.
think I'm pretty much there anyways, and I'm looking at the time, so I do want to make sure that we go into the solutions. Want to make sure we go into the solutions. Okay,
Yes, thank you.
so
I
that's
mean,
what's happening.
that's really where okay, so and this is what we're saying in the beginning, when we're able to process the fear, and the whole world is processing fear. When we're able to process the fear, the clarity on the next move and our individual role and personal responsibility or not, if something doesn't resonate with us, then we can move off it, but then we're going to know what to do in the right way. So thank you for bearing with me on that, Matthew
Absolutely,
John.
no problem at all. No problem at all. Let's talk about the Grand Ascension game. Let's talk about the timeline split that's going on. All that I've been describing, and there's so much more. All that I've been describing is down the path of 5G, and that's why this 5G is so significant. Okay. The other path is, of course, 5D, the fifth dimension, right? And we want to go down that path, don't we? Right? The Earth that we want to see manifest is a beautiful planet where, at least what I want to see manifest, where everyone has enough, everyone has safety, and we are using these higher dimensional technologies, right? As not these technologies that are intended to enslave, technologies that are intended to create and uplift, right? The big problem for those who want the path that I've described is the energies of ascension. That's the big problem, and that's why things are getting tighter. The noose is getting tighter around us. Why? Because they know what is happening energetically on the planet. Okay. And your show, this has been the focus for the past couple, ever since you started, and this is what we need, right? We also need to be, in my opinion, aware of what's going on. Okay. Just aware. And if anyone else did feel fear triggered by this, then good, because now just breathe through it. Breathe through it and realize the fear can't hurt you. It's just a feeling. Look around. Look at the safety you have right now. Okay? Feel the energy in your hands. Okay? Stillness. Okay? Nothing can actually hurt us. We are eternal beings. This is just a game. This is just a game. It's a spiritual game that's being played out, and it's happening in astrology. Now, we have entered, as so many of you know, what's called the photon belt. According to Barbara Hand Clow, who's one of the most prolific channelers of our time, the entrance into the photon belt was about 1998, right? And really, in earnest, the celebration of 2012, the end of the Mayan calendar, was the entrance into the photon belt. Now, what is the photon belt? The photon belt is an area of increased light as we become physically closer, as our solar system comes physically closer to the center of the galaxy and to the great central sun of Alcyone, which is where souls are born. And as we enter closer into this photon belt, we are flooded with more light on the planet, right? Now, the last time we were in this photon belt was in the age of Leo, which was approximately 12,000 some years ago, where we experienced the enlightened, ascended, fifth dimensional societies called Atlantis and Lemuria. And so many of us have some sort of ancient remembrance of being in Atlantis and Lemuria, right? So now, and some of us may have an ancient remembrance of how it ended, and we may have some sort of recollection of how what's happening now is very similar to how it ended, right? As we start descending back into the Kali Yuga or the Dark Ages, right? So right now we're entering into 2,138 years of light. And it's 2020, we're 8 years in. So 2,130 years of light to go. However, on the other side of it, we will have entered into another spiral on our solar system's ascension spiral. And thus, the Kali Yuga that comes after this age of Aquarius will not be the darkness that we saw during the age of Pisces and before on this planet. This planet will have ascended, and it will have reached a place of being welcome as a sovereign planet in the Galactic Federation. So that's the process we're going through now. But we have to go through a lot of shit first. And that's what we're seeing now. All right. So this is, and for those of you who haven't read Barbara Hand Clow's book, The Pleiadian Agenda, this is kind of the diagram. And it's going to be hard to see, but basically it's a 26,000 year zodiac cycle. We spend approximately 2,130 years in each zodiac age, right? So in each age, there's a theme. The theme of the age of Pisces was, of course, extreme duality, extreme control from especially religions, especially the three main religions, right, being used as a mechanism for psychological control of the planet. And then, of course, it became the religion of government, which we see in China and we're seeing around the world. And that's another trajectory of the path they want to take, is no more worship of God, just worship of state. And we can see that in the book 1984. Right now, the problem for them is that we've entered into this photon belt. And here's another diagram of the photon belt. And you can see that it not only shows our solar system, but it shows the other planets, right, that are in the Pleiadian cluster. And the Pleiadians have a very, very big relationship with us on Earth. And this experiment that is Earth, and I'm in my last quantum conversation show, I talked about how Earth is a laboratory, Earth is an experiment. The Pleiadians have a lot to do with the development of this. And the Pleiadians have had a lot to do with the development of our entire solar system, right? Including Venus and Mars and Chiron, okay? And so because of that, we can look to the Pleiadian societies as where we're going. And just for example, one of the many silver linings that I've seen from just this first few weeks of this event is that, by the way, this is the event, but there will be many events, right? Is that I see my neighborhood transforming into like kind of like a Pleiadian neighborhood. Kids are out playing, everyone's out walking their dogs and playing, and neighbors are talking to each other, and everyone's happy. Kids don't have to go to school, parents don't have to go to work. That's what I've seen in my neighborhood. And I know there's other places on the planet where people aren't perhaps as affluent as they are in being in a suburban middle class neighborhood, where it may not be like that. But I do see glimpses of kind of where we're headed right now. Another glimpse that I see of where we're headed right now is the fact that because so many airplanes and cars are off the street, the pollution levels on the planet have gone down so much that, for example, in China, you can see a difference in satellite pictures. And we've seen that happen, right? So we can already see glimpses of the future new Earth. It's happening right now, right? And we're able to create that. We're absolutely able to create that, but just being aware of what we're up against and to not fall into the rhetoric, okay? Just being aware, having a half an eye on it. That's it. Half an eye, but we're creating with forward momentum the planet that we want to create, okay? So the other thing that's going on in the universe is that we're seeing the eradication of negative polarity. And negative polarity is kind of like, think of it as a software program that was inserted into this galaxy, perhaps even this universe, to see what would happen. See what would happen when beings that are vibrating away from the light could be allowed to interact with beings that are vibrating towards the light. And what we've seen is what we're seeing now. Basically a spiritual battle, a spiritual war going on the planet, right? And this is exactly what is going on right now, because we don't it's not only the dark beings, the dark humans, the reptilians, it's not only them. It's not only the Pleiadians and the Arcturians and the Sirians, it's the inner earth beings. Okay, we can't forget about the beings below the surface, the Telosians and Mount Shasta. We can't forget about Shambhala, okay, all the beings, the fifth dimensional beings below the earth. This is not just our planet. There's so much at stake here. And there's literally a spiritual war going on this planet right now. It has been for a long time. It's just we're reaching the kind of the peak of it right now. We're reaching the peak, right? And we're seeing it unfold right in front of us, right? Which is exciting to me. I'm excited about it, right? There's nothing to fear here. And once you feel the fear, once you just acknowledge what might be going on around you, how you need to protect yourself from things like 5G, pesticides in your food, fluoride, things like that, there's nothing to be afraid of. Nothing to be afraid of. We are eternal beings. And not only that, we're star seeds here to see this all play out. And we're here to have a role. We're here to have a role in this playing out, right? We're here to help, which is what we're doing, right? So how do we help? Like, what is our biggest tool with this? Well, our biggest tool is our power of manifestation. Okay. Now, just becoming aware of something does not amplify it. It doesn't. Falling into the fear of it does. Okay. If you remain in the fear of what's going on, and that's why, I mean, you warned people at the beginning of this. And so I personally, I feel like feeling into the energetic field. I think people are handling this very well overall. And if you can't yet pay attention to what's going on and not be afraid of it, then it's best to turn your attention away. That would be the best thing you can do, and to just turn your attention to your center and to meditation. Anything that brings you peace, okay? Walking in the woods, like I recommended you do the other day, okay? Anything, playing with your kids, playing with your dogs, making love, anything that brings you playing with your crystals, Reiki, anything that brings you that peaceful vibration. Okay. The more we create that peace through the storm, the more that we are creating that higher timeline where this stuff will fall away. This stuff will fall away, and we will live in the planet that we want to live. It's destined to happen anyways. We're just seeing how it's going to play out. We're just seeing what actually happens between now and then, right? So our number one tool here is meditation, okay? Peaceful resistance. Peaceful resistance, by even better than peaceful resistance, just creating the planet we want to create. Creating the planet we want to create through visualization, through affirming it, okay? That is our best tool. Now, let's talk about, and the other thing, of course, is the crystal spiral. So the eradication of negative polarity as an experiment in our universe means the end of the sacred geometrical sequence of the flower of life, which is also known as the flower of death, because what it does, it creates a false program where beings always need more sustenance to continue to evolve. And that's what creates the opportunity for negative polarity, which has to feed off of other life forms. Now, I'm not saying that humans are negative polarity because we eat. What I'm saying is that, for example, the reptilian beings, they feed off of fear, literally. The archons, they feed off of fear. What the archons are, the energetic beings that are doing the bidding for the reptilian beings, right? And they're in the etheric field, they're in the astral field of the planet. They feed off of literal fear. So that's why, again, if you can digest this information, let the fear come up, and then let it go, it probably won't come up again. And we all have fear stored within. We all have something we're afraid of stored within. And this can be a great opportunity to just let the fear be felt, but realize it can't hurt you. The fear can't hurt you. Just sit with it. And it's so damn uncomfortable. But if you just sit with it and feel it and breathe through it, it will pass, and you realize it can't hurt you. Okay? As one of my favorite men on earth, David Icke, says, without fear, this whole thing falls away. This whole system is predicated on fear. It's psychological terrorism. They need us to stay inside and be afraid of the boogeyman right now. And that perpetuates everything they want to do. So by moving through the fear and to a place of peace through the storm, we are creating the new earth by doing that. All right. Now, the other thing is, at the end of each 26,000, now I don't have direct confirmation of this, but this has always been my inkling and understanding. And this comes based off of a lot of, for example, Amora Kuan Yin's book, Pleiadian Perspectives on Human Evolution, where she discusses the development of our solar system from Venus, Mars, and Chiron, and how there, at the end of each pre-programmed astrological cycle, there would be an opportunity for the collective consciousness of the planet to request assistance, right? Or to restructure the game that was meant to be played for the next 10,000 year cycle, 13,000 year cycle, 26,000 year cycle, whatever it was. And I believe that's exactly what's happening now. I believe that we are unconsciously, as a collective human one mind, calling in assistance from the positive extraterrestrials to eradicate all this garbage off the planet that is trying to lead us down that route we don't want to go, what you visualized and what other people have felt fear about. We don't want to go that direction. So we're calling in the help of these positive extraterrestrials and also the inner earth beings to assist us with their vibrational technology. And that's exactly what's been happening all along and what's happening now. So the more that we consciously ask for that help, it's my belief that that speeds up the process. And that's something that if we do have time quickly to do a little meditation, I'd love to do. How to protect yourself.
I just want to interject there.
Yeah.
Because that's really, if we can all move from fear, that's why Our smile to another human being is worth $1,000,000 right now,
Yeah, it
you
is.
know? Wherever we are. And I think that we can see, at least I can tell when I pass someone on the trail or pass someone on my bike, I can tell people who are awake because they're still sharing love. Even if they don't know awake, like to this information that we're talking about today, but they're awake to enough to know to keep sharing the
Yeah.
love, right?
Yeah, and that's what I've seen in my neighborhood, and it's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. And that's one of the just really positive silver linings of this. It's literally what frees us is love. If you remember in my last talk I did on quantum conversations, I talked about all the rules of the earth game, right? Well, one of the lessons that every single person on this planet has to go through is a lesson of moving from fear to love. And this is the best opportunity we've ever had to do that. Ever. Collectively. So
Yeah.
whatever's happening on the outside, the more that we just put out that vibration of love and more importantly, peace. Peace is the most important vibration right now. Peace. All right. The more we put out that vibration, regardless of what's going on. And again, if keeping an eye on what's going on helps, keep an eye. If it doesn't and you're not able to really digest it, then turn away from it. Okay. It really vibrationally, that's the best thing you can do. Okay.
Mm.
Me, I found out about this stuff 13 years ago. I read almost every David Icke book, and it doesn't scare me. All right. I knew this was coming. It's like so many other people. All right. It doesn't
Game
mean it's going to
on. That's,
manifest.
yeah.
Doesn't mean it's
Game
going to
on.
manifest. This
Yeah.
is what they want to happen. Just like I
Yes.
said with the virus, they may have wanted this virus with their little simulation to wipe out 65 million people. I don't think it will. I don't think this virus is as effective as they want it to be. Just
We've
my
heard
thoughts, right?
Well, we've heard because everyone is home and getting this time to be with their families and to sit with themselves. Magenta Pixie was saying that the nine has told her that it backfired. The plan backfired.
I don't know if it backfired, but I don't think it's. But like I was saying, I think anyways there's going to be benefits to them. But this doesn't see now. The other thing is looking at the immediate astrology. We have to understand. So astrology is not causative. Astrology shows us a roadmap, basically, right? Pluto in Capricorn is going to break everything down. It's inevitable. So this is why people have been talking about this since 1999, since 2000. This time, 2008 to 2024, they're like, oh boy, here we go, and we're seeing it. We're seeing it. So we're meant to be here to live this out. We have Saturn in Aquarius, right? Coming up, starting right now until July, and then again from December until 2023. Saturn in Aquarius, it's going to probably restrict our freedom in some ways. Okay. It will also see the development of new technologies, and that doesn't just mean technologies that are meant to enslave us. It also means technologies that are meant to heal. Okay? That's also Saturn in Aquarius. It also may mean technologies perhaps coming directly from extraterrestrials, which we've already seen. There's so many amazing healers out there who are at a way higher level than me, like Christoph and Sananda and Akasha and Lisa Renee and these people who have developed these extraterrestrial frequency technologies that they can channel through them, right? And we've already seen it. Tom Palladino, Scalar Energy, right? Oh my God, what an amazing guy. He's helping heal the world of coronavirus right now. If anyone hasn't, sign up for his program. That'll eradicate it. All right. We have every tool we need to eradicate. We have every tool we need to protect ourselves from 5G. We have every tool we need to live a peaceful life, regardless of what's going to happen here. All right. And it's how peaceful can we be through the storm? If I hope people can feel my literal confidence. I'm not just putting on a show here. I really feel confident about all this. Like, we're going to be fine through all this. Things are going to look different, most likely. Life will probably never be the same after this, and that's just reality. But we're gonna be fine, and we are building the new earth together. Okay. And ultimately, we are eternal beings. We are eternal beings that are here on this planet. We come from the stars. We come from Sirius, we come from Andromeda, the Pleiades. We've experienced some of us the Orion Wars. All right, see if that like hits somewhere inside you. The Orion Wars, these highly technological wars that Star Wars was kind of based off of. A lot of star seeds were there helping, whether from the Syrian councils or from the Lyran beings. Some were unfortunately on planets that were susceptible to attacks from the dark beings with their technology. We've seen this before. Remember, starseeds, remember, we've seen this before. We've seen this all play out. There's nothing to be afraid of here. Nothing to be afraid of. This is just how it's meant to unfold, right? Now, practical things, I'm looking at the time, practical things to protect ourselves from the virus. Vitamin D3, especially sunlight. Sunlight is more important now than ever before, okay? Sunlight boosts your immune system. It also eradicates viruses. Vitamin D is able to be produced from the sun in the best way possible. It's much better than taking it in a supplement or even eating it, in salmon. It's just get sunlight. Sunlight is more important now than ever. D3 plus K2 is a great supplement too, especially if you're on a vegan diet. It's very difficult to get K2 on a vegan diet unless you are eating natto, which is really disgusting, but you can put like little spices in it, right? But other than that, K2 is really hard to get on a vegan diet. So a D3 plus K2 supplement is a great idea right now. 5,000 IUs of D3 plus whatever the K2. There's a good vegan one on Amazon that I use. Vitamin C. I mean, oranges are very important right now. Grapefruits, things like that. Anything bright, okay? But also vitamin C supplementation. So between 2 and 4 grams a day is a good. Even 1 gram a day is helpful. Liposomal vitamin C, which is 6 times more powerful than regular vitamin C. That's really helpful as well. And by the way, if you've never taken vitamin C before, don't take 4 grams right off the bat. You'll get diarrhea. Like, you got to build yourself up. Ionic or colloidal silver, okay, it really enhances your immune system. Silver has been shown in numerous medical studies, tens of thousands of medical studies, or at least thousands of medical studies that I've looked at, to kill viruses, bacteria, parasites, etc. You can buy it if you can find it, or if you can find a generator that's reputable, you can make it your own. Okay, if you ever got the COVID-19, you nebulize it and you breathe it into your lungs. Okay, olive leaf is another great one for immunity. Astragalus, elderberry syrup, zinc. Okay, almost everyone on the planet, unless you're eating like a carnivore diet and you're really high in zinc, you should probably be taking some sort of supplemental zinc, especially men. We lose zinc every time we ejaculate, of course, but in general, because our soil is so devoid of nutrients, one of the big nutrients that's been taken out of the soil is zinc. And one of the reasons for that is the chemtrails and all the barium and aluminum and strontium that comes down from the chemtrails. It deactivates or knocks out the zinc out of the soil, then the soil is over-tilled. We're missing zinc in general, and zinc is really important for immunity. So zinc picolinate is my favorite, 30 milligrams. Okay, meditation, yoga, tai chi, qigong. Stop smoking anything. Stop smoking marijuana because it weakens your lungs. If you're in a legal state, edibles. If you want to go down that path. CBD is fantastic. It doesn't have the psychoactive effect of marijuana, but it has the medicinal effect, and that enhances the immune system, right? For protection from 5G, organites. Let's see if I can find. Well, this is my organite pyramid here. Let's see if I can find a good stone here. Hold on. Sorry. Here. This is a good tower buster. These are available on Amazon. I love this seller. I don't know the name, but these really raise the frequency and really protect yourself from 5G frequencies. You can also find little ones, like I have one on my phone right here. This one's from Brazil, but you should put organites on everything, all your electronics. You should turn your Wi-Fi off at night, or at least have an organite stone like a tower buster on there. Put these organites all around your house. It protects your house from the frequency. If you live really close to a tower or a 5G small cell, you can buy 5G paint that stops the 5G from frequencies from entering your house. You can wear 5G clothing. I have this silver shirt is protecting me from 5G. All right. There's 5G underwear. There's 5G hoodies. I have a 5G sheet. So there's all sorts of great companies out there that are making stuff to protect ourselves from the frequencies, right? Especially if you're a man and you're my age and you want to make sure you can have kids still, because one of the things that 5G has been shown to do is reduce sperm count. Okay, so protect yourself however you can. Other silver linings. This is waking people up. Okay, the amount of comments that I see on any sort of YouTube video, not just on channels like this or channels like mine, but of people that are aware of what the heck's going on in the world, and that there's something else that they're not telling you on the news, is at an all-time high. Now, one of the things is that we're at a significant fork in the road here. And the last significant fork in the road was 9/11, okay? And a lot of people perceive that. And 9/11 was meant to be a timeline hack, but you know what it did? Not only did it led us more down this path as a collective of more control and more collection of information of everyone, right? The Patriot Act in the United States, for example. But what it also did, it woke up so many people from their slumber. It activated so many star seeds, including yours truly. Okay? 9/11, I knew that day. I was in 8th grade. I knew it was a crock of shit. I knew it. I'm like, are you effing kidding me? They already found the dudes like 2 hours after it happened? Yeah, okay. I was in 8th grade. 8th grade, right? And I knew something was up. It activated a lot of star seeds. It activated a lot of people on their journeys. This is doing the same. But you know what? On an exponentially larger scale, if let's say 9/11, that timeline hack woke up 0.1% of the world, this is going to wake up like 5% of the world, I do believe. Okay. And people are going to start to see that something is up, that something is going on this planet. And a lot of people are not going to know what to do. And that we may see civil unrest in other areas of the world or even in our own country. I predicted that before this year. I thought that would happen, especially in the summer or the fall. We'll see. However, for us light workers, our responsibility is through frequencies, through vibration, through meditation, through visualization. And if you're someone who, and I know there's people on this call that were like, oh my God, thank you for all the information. Or there are probably people who are like, I knew all this already. Like, thanks for reiterating, telling other people. If you're one of those people, then yes, wake people up with this information, especially online, right? If someone's ready to receive it, they will. If they're not, they won't. No harm done, right? But now is the time, because especially the restrictions on the internet are likely to get a little tighter too, especially with Saturn and Aquarius, okay? So this is a massive awakening on the planet right now. We're living through it. We're living through it. And like Loren said, like I've been here as kind of the guy, I know I got a lot of energy. I got no anger in me from this. I just got energy. I love talking about this stuff, right? And but Loren is coming with this. Okay, let's take it easy and let's remember love, and that is so important right now. It is so important to be more loving than ever before to yourself, to your pets and your loved ones, and to everyone else. Smiling at people. Walking around right now, especially if you go shopping, there's an underlying fear that is circulating in every single person, almost every single person. There's the rare people out there, like a lot of people on this path, like you and I and people watching this are like, you know what? I'm walking through the storm and I feel great. I love this. This is exciting, right? Really, if you can feel excited about this, that is a great vibration. Like, what is better than, what better vibration to combat fear with than excitement? Like, wow, look at all that's happening in this planet. And I'm so grateful that I'm here to see this happen. What's going to happen? We don't know. Wow, this is exciting, right? That combats fear, right? But fear, although, okay, fear is the enemy in a way, because fear feeds the system. It does. However, we can learn to be with fear, and for it not to harm us at all. It doesn't harm us. And once we realize the fear doesn't harm us, it'll just flow right through. It'll flow right through. Just like anything. Sadness, grief doesn't harm you. The lungs, SARS, this COVID SARS has to do with the lungs. What grief are you still storing within? Let it flow. Let it flow. The grief can't harm you unless it's stored there, unless it's locked inside. But if it's allowed to just flow, let it flow. Let it be. Let the grief be. Let the fear be. Feel everything. We're here on this planet to feel everything. And I would encourage people to check out some of my other talks on your show, on your network, where I went more into the whole aspect of what it means to be a soul, about soul lessons, about why we reincarnate so many times, why we're meant to feel everything, things like that, because that's important to understand. Now, this is a time of enlightenment, okay? Because everything has a polarity, all right? So as they tighten the grip, more people are awakening, okay? As they try to suppress information, more people are awakening and questioning, all right? Because it's a polarity, and that's what's going to keep happening. And it'll get to a point where because of the new Christic spiral, because of the new frequencies, because of the photon belt, it won't last. It won't last. Okay? This is a very temporary transition. We're in the transition time here. We're in the transition time. That's what they want. This is what we want. We're going to manifest what we want by focusing on it. And yes, for the people who said by revealing this stuff, it amplifies it. I don't believe that. I believe it just shows us what we're up against. That's it. That's my perspective.
That's the punchline that we started this whole experience with. And I think that's the most hopeful of all, to be so excited, like you said, that we really get those passion projects off the paper, because I know many people have been downloading a lot of information, and actually into action. And what I see that's really exciting is that people are like, okay, it's kind of like they're taking they're channeling that anger or that energy, that when they take back that energy of giving it to fear and worry, then they're like, you know what, I've got something to offer now, and I'm going to share it. And that's the new earth that's being revealed. I just think that's really powerful and really exciting to watch. And so we're all here in this together, and we're seeing it. You know what? We are seeing mainstream media talking about meditation,
right?
And everything that we've been talking about. And so, and I know we can look in each of our lives and say, like, for example, my husband, I would say certain things along the way on spiritual ways. And now he and my son are both like, okay, instead of the blowback that we got, or the eye rolls.
That's happening with my own father.
Isn't that beautiful?
I sat down with him. He's so into whatever the pharmaceutical companies say and the doctors say and all that. I sat down with him and I printed out 20 studies about colloidal silver and sat down with him and talked about it. And
he's into it now. He's into it.
Right. Do we have time to do a meditation?
Yes. As we wrap up today, this is the icing on the cupcake. So thank you for that, Matthew, because this is where we connect inward very deeply. So we're going to leave everyone with this. And I thank you, Matthew, so much. We're going to end with plant music and leave people in that vibration that you set up for us. So before we get there, I want to say Matthew John is a very powerful person that you can work with, a spiritual counselor. If you feel the need to have a personal session with him, on the webpage that you're viewing this on, there is a link. Check out his special offer. He's got personal sessions. We're not going to go into all the courses that you've taught.
Sure, no problem.
But basically, all those courses that you've taught, included in that package, are free for people to use as they see fit. And if they don't want your personal session, then they get all of those courses right there with that. Yeah. So it's a beautiful offering. Thank you so much for that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. 8 courses and then the personal session for the package too, if people want. Yeah.
All right.
Um, so can we do the guided? We can do guided meditation, and then do we have time
For
for
a
guide?
guided meditation, we're gonna do that right now, and at the
Okay, sure,
end, I'd like to leave it in a space. I'll play plant music
sure.
again, the blooming cyclamen, because I think it's really powerful when we receive the energy of unsurpassed, unfettered love that cannot be stopped. When you come across a cyclamen bloom, you may forget to water that flower, but you add a little bit of water, which is love, and it just bounces back. It's really a strong plant. So we're going to end there. Do you want me to play that music now or just do your? I'll play that at the end.
Yeah, yeah. Let's
Beautiful.
play that. Let's
All
play
right,
that.
everyone. Well, thank you for joining this free webinar. Matthew's going to lead this meditation, and we're going to end with our musical exit. Thank you.
All right. So if everyone can just start by, we're going to be just doing some deep breathing together. This is the most important part of any meditation, regardless of whether you're doing just a basic breathing meditation or if you're doing a visualization, a guided visualization like we're doing. So we're just going to start some basic deep breathing. So I'd like everyone to put your hand over your solar plexus, and we're going to breathe in and out. And go at your own pace now, just breathing deeply through the solar plexus. And if any fear is still there, I want you to just acknowledge it, smile at it, be curious about it, be curious about that fear. It's interesting, isn't it? But it can't hurt you. Just feel it. Just be there with it. And I'd like everyone to close your eyes if you haven't already. We're going to be using the tool of Saint Germain's violet flame to cleanse our energy fields. Imagining a violet fire all around you now, consuming your entire auric field. The violet cleansing flame. You should be feeling lighter already. Breathing in the violet fire as it's cleansing your entire body. And we're now going to be using, my friends, the tool of the white fire. The white fire is a very, very high dimensional tool, my friends. I'd like you to imagine your body encompassing now in the white fire. A white flame, giant white flames, a bonfire of white fire all around you now. And make it even stronger now. The white flame even stronger. Fan the flame. Yes. Good job, friends. All around you. And breathe in this white fire. This is cleansing and purifying every cell of your body with the Christed lights. And now spread this white fire around you to cleanse the room you're in. And now spread it to cleanse your entire home, this white fire. And now spread it out to cleanse your neighborhood. And now to cleanse your entire community, your city or town. And now to cleanse the entire country that you're in. Spreading out and covering your entire continent. And now, my friends, spreading this white flame around the entire planet Earth. Cleansing the planet in this white fire. Holding the planet in this white flame. This frequency is too high for anything that is not of the light to remain. Entire planet engulfed in this white cleansing fire. May this COVID-19 virus be eradicated off this planet immediately. Amen. And please repeat these words if it feels right to you. And if not, that's okay too. We ask for Ashtar Sharan and the Galactic Federation of Light and all of the Christed extraterrestrial councils of light including the Great White Brotherhood, the Pleiadians, the Syrians, the Arcturians, and the Essassani, the benevolent Lyrans, and the Andromedans, and all other Christed extraterrestrial beings that are involved with Earth affairs to intervene and take down the malevolent control system on this planet to free all human beings and assist our human race in having control over planet Earth in conjunction with the benevolent inner Earth beings and the benevolent fourth dimensional astral beings. We ask you to activate all star-seated human beings now. We ask that knowledge and spiritual light spread even more rapidly to every human being on this beautiful planet. We ask for the return to our Christed extraterrestrial DNA potential in human bodies. Thank you for your assistance. This or something better. May it be so. May it be so. May it be so. And if, while Loren plays the music, if we want to remain in meditation and just be visualizing the new earth now that we want to create. Everyone having enough, everyone living in joy, everyone living in peace, everyone living in freedom. May it be so. Thank you for your help, my friends.